After that drunken night with Elijah, my secret could no longer be hidden. Once it was over, I left the city overnight and fled abroad. Years later, we unexpectedly reunited at the kindergarten gates. He looked at the little girl beside me, his face darkening. "You got married? This child. Why does she look so much like me?" Chapter 1. Is here okay? The familiar voice whispered in my ear, sending shivers through my entire body. I couldn't see the person's face clearly, but I knew who he was. Elijah, my childhood friend whom I had secretly been in love with for years. It wasn't until after the college entrance exams, when we were filling out our university applications, that I realized my feelings for Elijah had long surpassed ordinary brotherhood. But I couldn't say it. Not just because I am a guy, but because I am intersex, a monster in the eyes of others. For 4 years, I carefully maintained my distance from him. On the day of our college graduation, we both drank too much. Using the alcohol as liquid courage, I hugged him, intending to hold on for just a brief moment before letting go. But I don't know who took the initiative first. Things gradually spiraled out of control. He was heavily intoxicated and seemed to have mistaken me for someone else. My secret was exposed that night. Why does it feel different? Elijah looked at me with flushed cheeks and hazy eyes. Thankfully, he always blacked out when he was drunk. "So weird," he mumbled, his actions making it unbearable for me. "Do you like it?" he asked, his breath drawing closer and closer. My heartbeat betrayed me. I wanted to say, "I like it. I always have." But the words reached my lips and were swallowed back down. Suddenly, I was given a push. "Daddy, why are you crying? It's time to wake up." I looked at my adorable daughter standing by the bed and shook my head, only then realizing it was just another dream. After that night, terrified that Elijah would remember I was a monster, I fled the country overnight to study abroad. Before I even finished my studies, I gave birth to Amy. To the outside world, I just said the child's mother ran away, and everyone always looked at me with deep sympathy. I got out of bed to make breakfast for Amy, my phone buzzing nonstop. In our gaming group chat, my childhood friends were discussing the news of Elijah getting married. Elijah is getting married. I really didn't expect him to be the first out of all of us. I've seen the girl, she's very pretty. They're a great match. At Liam, hurry back to be the best man. Weren't you and Elijah the closest? Why did you completely drop off the radar after going abroad? Looking at the engagement invitation on the screen, even though I was mentally prepared, a sharp pain still pierced my chest. After finishing her eggs, Amy asked, "Daddy, when can I go to kindergarten?" She was already 3 years old. I wiped the corner of her mouth. "Next month. We're going back to China for school." When I brought Amy back to China, my parents were both shocked and overjoyed, assuming I had been tricked by some foreign woman. After completing the enrollment procedures for an international school, I waited early at the kindergarten gates, worried Amy wouldn't adapt. When she came out, her face was beaming with smiles, telling me she had made new friends. As I turned around, I bumped right into someone. Elijah was more mature than before. His distinctive almond eyes carried a faint smile, polite yet distant. He was wearing a formal suit, looking like he had just come from the company. 1,000 words rushed to my lips, but in the end, I only managed to say, "Long time no see. When did you get back? Why didn't you say anything?" he asked. "Not long ago. Haven't had the time to notify everyone yet," I replied. Elijah looked down at Amy, who was also secretly sizing him up. She tugged on my sleeve and said, "Daddy, this uncle is so handsome. He looks like a TV star." Elijah's smile faded. "You got married? When did that happen?" "I didn't. Unexpected pregnancy out of wedlock." "Who is the child's mother?" "Someone I love," I deflected vaguely. "You don't know her," he sneered. "Suddenly going abroad and losing contact for so long. So you went to chase after love?" I smiled bitterly in my heart. "Actually, I was just playing the deserter." "Why are you here? Picking up a kid too? Did you also have an unexpected pregnancy?" Remembering his engagement, my mind immediately conjured up some melodramatic soap opera plot. Elijah remained expressionless. "I'm not as fast as you. I'm here to pick someone up." Just as I was about to ask who he was picking up, Amy suddenly called out, "Hello, Miss Amelia." Amelia walked over and naturally hooked her arm through Elijah's, smiling at me. "So you're Amy's dad?" Amy is adorable. She was the most active one in class today. I exchanged a few pleasantries, my eyes falling on their intimate posture. I never expected that my child's homeroom teacher would be Elijah's fiancée. What a coincidence. Upon learning that we were childhood friends, Amelia invited us to dinner. I politely declined, said my goodbyes, and left with Amy. Watching their perfectly matched silhouettes from behind, I thought to myself, if I were a normal person, maybe I could have tried pursuing him. It's a pity I don't even have the right to try. After that, every time I picked up Amy, I would inevitably run into Elijah. He seemed to love Amelia very much, arriving punctually every day to pick her up from work. He probably inherited the family business and had a lot of free time. Our family backgrounds had always been worlds apart. When we were kids living in the same compound, we could play together, but as we grew up, the gap only became more obvious. I found a job at a nearby design firm. Occasionally, when I was busy, I would ask my friend John to help pick up Amy. One day, it was raining heavily, and John called to say he couldn't find Amy. Frantic, I called Amelia, who told me Elijah had already picked the child up. Hearing that name made my temples throb. I had never told Amy the truth about her parentage, planning to wait until she was older. But she was a chatterbox, and if she spent too much time with Elijah, I was terrified she would let something slip. I braved the rain and rushed to his villa, completely soaked. When the butler opened the door, the sound of cartoons drifted from inside. Amy was mid-sentence. "Uncle, I've seen you before. Daddy has photos of you on his phone. He always—" "Amy!" I hastily interrupted her. She lunged over and hugged me. "Daddy, look! Uncle bought me so many toys." The sofa was covered in dolls, looking entirely out of place in the luxurious living room. Elijah's clothes were covered in sequin stickers, and his hair was a mess. He had clearly been put through the ringer by Amy. I wanted to take the child and leave, but he stopped me. "The wind is strong outside, and you're completely soaked. You'll get sick." "It's fine. I'll just catch a cab." "You'll be fine. But what about the kid?" I looked at him and ultimately compromised. Because of my physical condition, Amy was born prematurely and had a weak constitution. She really couldn't afford to catch a chill. "Go dry your hair. Dinner is ready. After you eat, I'll have someone drive you back," Elijah said, instructing the maids to prepare towels and dry clothes. When I walked out of the room in fresh clothes, I felt much more refreshed. The sleeves were a bit long. They were definitely Elijah's clothes. He was 7 centimeters taller than me and always loved to block my shots when we played basketball back in the day. As I walked out drying my hair, Elijah was leaning against the doorframe. "Amelia said she thinks Amy looks a lot like me, especially the eyes." Amy also had those distinctive almond eyes. I forced out a dry laugh. "Give it a rest. Are you trying to take advantage of me? My daughter obviously looks like her mother. Almond eyes aren't your exclusive trademark." "Oh, but I checked, and you weren't closely involved with any women while you were abroad." Elijah slowly pulled out a piece of paper. "Furthermore, I found out some very interesting things. Take a guess at what they are." I fell silent. Meeting his deep, profound gaze, my entire body began to tremble. Did he find out? What would he think of me? Would he think I'm a pervert? A freak? My mind went blank. I lunged forward to snatch the paper from his hand. Elijah dodged slightly, and I tackled him, pinning him against the cabinet doors. With our bodies pressed together, I could feel his body heat, my face almost brushing the corner of his mouth. He was stunned for a second, and I used that opportunity to snatch the paper. Opening it, I saw that it was completely blank. I froze, my heart dropping in my chest. His voice sounded by my ear. "Liam, what are you so afraid of? Did I hit the mark?" "Of course not." I feigned composure and crumpled the paper into a ball. "My daughter's information is her privacy. I don't want outsiders meddling." "Outsiders." Elijah ground his molars, letting out a cold sneer. Amy's shouts echoed from downstairs, and I quickly descended the stairs. She was already sitting at the dining table waiting for us, the table covered in her favorite dishes. In just a few hours, she had already told Elijah all her preferences. If we stayed any longer, who knows what else she might blurt out. Amy always liked to look around while eating, her attention easily distracted. Elijah peeled a shrimp for her and gently instructed, "Eat quickly, or it will get cold. Then can Uncle feed me? We were playing house earlier and you were playing the mom. You haven't fed me dinner yet. Let's keep playing now." Hearing this, I choked on the food in my mouth. I wiped the corner of her mouth and lowered my voice. "Stop messing around, Amy. Uncle is very busy. Once we finish eating, we'll go home, and I'll play with you." Amy pouted in disappointment. She was usually home alone for long periods and desperately craved company. Seeing her like this, Elijah couldn't bear it. He immediately picked up her little bowl. "Come on, let's keep playing. But you have to eat like a good girl." "Okay, Mom." My eye twitched. Watching this scene, even though it was incredibly incongruous, it was a scenario I had once fantasized about in my dreams. But dreams always have to wake up eventually. Chapter 2. When the driver sent us back, Amy leaned against the car window and waved at Elijah. "Bye-bye, Uncle." Elijah's gaze fell on me. I lowered my eyes and rolled up the window, as if trying to escape. After returning home, Amy said she wanted to go play at Elijah's house again in the future. I remained silent for a moment before saying, "Daddy will buy you new toys. We can't go looking for Uncle Elijah anymore." "Why? Isn't Uncle Elijah Daddy's friend?" "Because Uncle Elijah has new friends and a new family now. We can't always bother him. It's impolite." Amy nodded, seemingly half understanding, and quickly became immersed in her newly updated cartoon. That weekend, my childhood friend James organized a gathering, saying it was a welcome home party for me. I dropped the kid off at my parents' house. It had been a long time since we old classmates had seen each other, so we were definitely going to be chatting late into the night. I arrived at the restaurant filled with apprehension, but breathed a sigh of relief when I realized Elijah wasn't there. James threw an arm around my shoulders. "Liam, you brat, you're finally back. I thought Elijah was fast, but I never expected you to be light years ahead. You even have a kid." Robert chimed in. "Exactly. Having a baby without breathing a word, and not even showing us. Hurry up and punish yourself with 3 glasses. I smiled, drank 3 glasses of alcohol, and pulled out my phone to show them pictures of Amy. The guys huddled together, whispering, "I thought you had a mixed-race baby with some foreign blonde. She's so cute. Who is the mother? Why aren't you saying anything? It's not our old class secretary, is it?" "That's right, the class secretary was always stealing glances at you back then, and later she went to the UK too. Did you guys run into each other?" As they chattered on, I forced a few laughs and shook my head. I had lost contact with the class secretary ages ago. Not to mention, I didn't even like girls. "Then who did you have a kid with? We've never even seen you date anyone before. Don't tell me it was your first love." "Whoa, Liam, I'm getting more and more curious. Have you been secretly in love with someone for a long time, and went abroad just for her?" Yeah, tell us." Meeting their gossiping gazes, I picked up a piece of food and answered vaguely, "It's all in the past. Let's not bring it up." Did I hit the nail on the head? Who did you love so deeply that you chased them all the way to the UK? The guys looked like they wouldn't give up until they got an answer. Just as I was trying to change the subject, Robert suddenly called out, "Elijah, why are you so late? We thought you were busy and couldn't make it." I looked toward the door. Elijah walked in to greet everyone, followed by Amelia wearing a gentle, elegant dress. James teased, "Oh, sister-in-law is here too? I was just having dinner around here, so I came over to take a look. Have fun, everyone." Amelia greeted them with natural poise and prepared to leave. James added, "So Elijah was on a date with his fiancée. Not cool, man. Choosing romance over your brothers." Robert chimed in, "Just downstairs." The manager called Amelia boss lady. "Is this restaurant owned by the Taylor family? That's amazing. Your marriage is truly a union of powerhouses." Elijah smiled faintly, his gaze cutting through the crowd to look at me. I nodded in acknowledgement as a greeting. With a new subject of gossip present, there was another burst of lively commotion. Elijah, who originally said he was busy, had suddenly shown up, likely just accompanying Amelia and dropping by the class reunion on the way. I poked at the fish in my bowl, listening to them talk about the upcoming engagement and finding groomsmen. I heard the wedding banquet was going to be held at the most expensive hotel, and the guest list was filled with celebrities. I wasn't jealous at all that he would have such a wedding and such a well-matched wife. This was exactly how it should be for the infinitely glorious Elijah. I never harbored any extravagant hopes of having anything with him. Being his classmate for a few years was already a stroke of luck. Yet the bitterness in my heart kept bubbling up, impossible to suppress no matter how hard I tried. I sat to the side, listening quietly, unknowingly drinking quite a bit of alcohol. I got up to go to the restroom, deciding to pay the bill as I passed the counter. The receptionist politely informed me, "The total for private room 503 is $84,000. It has already been paid." I froze. Over $80,000? I glanced at the bill. The most expensive items were those bottles of alcohol. I knew this restaurant was expensive, but I didn't expect it to be this expensive. "May I ask who paid for it?" "It was the gentleman behind you." I turned around. Elijah was leaning against the window, seemingly out to get some fresh air as well. A casual bill payment for him was more than my salary for half a year. He and I were no longer in a relationship where we could just go out and grab skewers together like in college. This stark, insurmountable boundary left me with a wave of depression. "Thanks. I'll transfer the money to you in a bit." I turned, preparing to leave. He caught up to me. No need. I just want to know an answer. What answer? Who did you go to the UK to chase? As far as I know, you've never liked any girl before. Elijah was very smart. He understood my relationship status and personality in college perfectly. Amy was only 3 years old. If I had slept with someone the moment I went abroad, it genuinely wouldn't make sense. Facing his scrutinizing gaze, I straightened my back. A very beautiful girl. It was love at first sight, but she was just playing around. You're lying. Elijah stared at me fixedly, raising his hand to touch the corner of my eye. Every time you lie, your eyes dart away. Liam, what exactly are you trying to hide? I swatted his hand away. Sometimes, I really hated how well he knew me. I've drank too much. I'm heading back first. Say goodbye to the guys for me. I walked toward the door. Elijah, his face cold, pressed down on my shoulder and pinned me against the corner of the wall. One last question. That night after graduation, were you the one who took me back to my room? For that graduation dinner, our group of brothers had gone to a hot spring resort. The privacy there was excellent, and there were no security cameras. My Adam's apple bobbed. I was smarter this time. Looking him straight in the eyes, I feigned composure. It was me. A flicker of emotion passed through his eyes. I took you to your room and then left. Is there a problem? Elijah frowned, seemingly trying to judge whether I was telling the truth. He was definitely very curious about what exactly happened that night. But I couldn't say it. I didn't want to lose even our friendship. Even more so, I didn't want to expose my ugly secret to the person I secretly loved. My phone ringing suddenly broke the tension. Felt like a pardon. Pressing answer, it was John saying he was already at the door. I had drank alcohol and couldn't drive, and he had mentioned earlier that he was watching a movie nearby, so I conveniently asked him to pick me up. Besides, John lived in the neighborhood right next to mine. I went out to find him and handed him my car keys. Seeing my flushed cheeks, John reached out and poked my face. Drank this much? Didn't you never drink when you were abroad? Yeah, I'm just in a good mood today. Actually, I wasn't in a good mood at all. John went to get the car. Elijah stared at me darkly. Your new friend? Yeah. No wonder you haven't been talking in the group chat. So you have a new friend. His words sounded like they carried a hidden meaning. The car arrived. I got into the passenger seat. John handed me a bottle of honey lemon tea. Drink a bit, it'll sober you up. You still have to take Amy to the amusement park tomorrow. Thanks. Standing outside the car window, Elijah kept staring at me, his usual proper smile completely gone. I watched his silhouette grow smaller and smaller in the rearview mirror, until I could no longer see him at all. Chapter 3. Unfortunately, Amy couldn't go to the amusement park the next day. I probably caught a chill from drinking and then standing in the cold wind, because I developed a high fever that night. Ever since my C-section, my constitution had become very weak. Even a minor ailment made me feel like I was dying. In the morning, I couldn't get up to make breakfast for Amy. She thought I was just sleeping in. But when she touched my arm, she was so scared she started crying. Daddy, why are you so hot? Stop. Open your eyes and look at me. Are you okay? Are you going to die? I think she watches too many TV dramas. But my head was spinning, and my throat was so dry and sore that even speaking was difficult. Amy immediately took my phone to call her grandparents, but no one answered. The two elders were going to a lecture today, so their phones were probably on silent. Amy was about to call John when she saw the pinned contact on my phone. Elijah. She thought about it for a second and made a voice call to Uncle Elijah. Crying loudly, she told him her daddy was dying. Not long after, several Bentleys parked downstairs in our neighborhood. Well-trained bodyguards rushed in, bringing a doctor and emergency medical equipment. The surrounding elderly neighbors were terrified, thinking the mafia had arrived. The doctor looked at the patient, then looked back at Elijah, hesitating to speak, as if he couldn't even be bothered to say anything about such an overreaction. I felt Amy's crying next to my ear grow quieter. It seemed someone was coaxing her. Soon, someone touched my forehead and carefully tucked my arm with the foredrip under the blanket. The faint sound of the TV came from the living room. Someone was talking intermittently. Is that Uncle John very close with your daddy? Yeah, Uncle John is really nice. Every time he picks me up, he brings me cupcakes. Doesn't Uncle Elijah buy you cupcakes too? Uncle Elijah is also very nice. Then, what about your mom? Does Amy know where she went? Amy fell silent and lowered her head. I don't know. Every time Mommy is mentioned, Daddy gets very sad. So I don't bring it up anymore. I don't want Daddy to be sad. Alright, then we won't talk about it. What kind of cake does Amy want to eat? I'll have someone go buy it. Night fell. Someone tiptoed into the room. I felt unbearably hot and flushed all over. After the 4-drip finished, the clothes on my back were completely soaked with sweat. A hand holding a towel wiped my face, then my body. When the other person tried to untie my pajama pants, I subconsciously grabbed the drawstring. I'm just wiping you down. You've sweat a lot, you'll be uncomfortable. No, you can't. My mind was groggy, but I still remembered to guard my bottom line. Furthermore, there was an ugly C-section scar on my lower abdomen. I didn't want anyone to know about it. I'll just wipe lightly, it'll be quick. Be good, okay? The person coaxed softly. I half squinted, feeling that the blurry silhouette in front of me was very familiar. I insisted on not letting him touch me. Helpless, the other person had to withdraw his hand. He helped pull my pants up higher and wiped my legs instead. I fell asleep in a daze. When I felt hot, I kicked off the blankets. When I felt cold, someone hugged me from behind. It had been a very long time since anyone had held me. I couldn't help but snuggle closer to the heat source. When I woke up, the house was very quiet. Feeling like someone had taken care of me seemed like a dream. Stepping out of the bedroom, I saw a familiar figure busy in the kitchen. The morning sunlight shone on his back, as if coating him in a fuzzy, glowing halo. I felt like I definitely hadn't woken up from the dream yet. Elijah turned his head and saw me. You're awake. He naturally reached out and touched my forehead. You've recovered nicely. Eat some breakfast, then take your medicine. As his warm body heat transferred to me, my mind jolted. It was real, not a dream. Elijah frowned. Did you not sleep well? Why are you standing there in a daze? No, I slept fine. Where's Amy? Washing up. I had been lying in bed all day and now felt hungry. I sat at the dining table, eating a sandwich and drinking milk. Elijah had made it all. Apart from the bread being a little burnt, there was nothing to complain about. He always seemed to be like this, excelling at whatever he did. A brilliance I could never catch up to, no matter what. Amy came to the dining table to eat. I watched as Elijah tried to brush her hair. He stared at the hair ties in his hands with a frown. The tutorial made it look so simple, but doing it was a different story. He tried several times. It either came out crooked, or some hair was left out. After finishing an egg, Amy turned her head and asked, Uncle Elijah, is it done yet? Almost. Elijah's brows were tightly knit as he prepared to rewatch the tutorial on his phone. I held back a smile. There was finally something he wasn't good at. Let me do it. I stepped forward and took the hair ties, fixing Amy's hair into 2 braids in a few quick strokes. Watching Amy's smile, the corners of Elijah's mouth also curled up. I have a regular morning meeting today. I'll have the driver take you guys in a bit. No need, I've pretty much recovered. I can drop Amy off. Sorry to trouble you with taking care of me yesterday. It was no trouble. Aren't we friends? Elijah glanced at me. Are you this polite to John too? I thought his question was a bit strange. Before I could figure it out, the alarm went off. I picked up Amy's backpack and headed out. Elijah also had to go to work, so we parted ways at the neighborhood gate. He reminded me to take my medicine on time and not to catch a chill again, then waved goodbye to Amy. Watching the way he coaxed the child, a wave of bitterness washed over my heart. Elijah would definitely be a great father in the future. I wonder what his and Amelia's child will look like. Will they look a lot like Amy? I held Amy's hand and walked toward the kindergarten bus stop, where a dedicated shuttle would pick her up. Amy was skipping along when she suddenly asked me mysteriously, Daddy, do you believe in magic? Why do you ask? Uncle Elijah said there's a kind of magic in the world that can help me find my mommy. He took some of my hair. Daddy, we'll be able to see mommy very soon. You don't have to be sad anymore. My heart seized, and my entire body froze in place. When did this happen? What exactly did Elijah tell her while I was asleep? For the next few days, I was completely restless, unable to even eat. Hearing that Elijah had gone on a business trip made me feel slightly relieved. He hadn't contacted me for several days, just as I thought I had managed to dodge the bullet. That very night, his call came through. He called over a dozen times in a row. I didn't dare answer a single one. I had an ominous premonition in my heart. Sure enough, a message from him popped up on my chat app. It was a photo of a DNA test report. Why did you lie to me? How did you do it? Liam, pick up the phone. You know the consequences of lying to me. Just wait. Chapter 4. My temples were throbbing. I was so terrified that I blocked him. I hadn't wanted to disturb his current life, but who knew he would pull a stunt like this? Elijah hated being lied to the most. In college, someone had played a trick on him and he broke their ribs. Plus, he was now a highly sought-after family heir. So many people wanted to curry favor with him. Would he think I approached him on purpose? I curled up on the sofa, not daring to think any further. Amy was still so small. What would he do to her? My mind was in complete chaos. I hurriedly took out my phone to check for train tickets. It was better to move. As long as I left Elijah's sphere of life, it would be fine. If I had known it would be exposed so easily, I never should have come back in the first place. The very next day, I started packing my luggage. Looking at the storage boxes, Amy's little face fell. Daddy, are we going to the UK again? I don't want to eat that mushy stuff anymore. No, we're going somewhere else. How about the beach? Are we leaving today? But Uncle John said he was going to celebrate my birthday with me. I froze for a moment. I had been so panicked last night that I completely forgot about this. This weekend was Amy's birthday. John had promised to bake her a cake himself. I glanced at the calendar and decided to leave after celebrating her birthday. Anyway, Elijah was still abroad. He couldn't find me. The weekend arrived. John came over bright and early. We went to Disneyland together and took lots of photos of Amy. We also took her shopping and let her pick out her own birthday present. Walking on the streets, I constantly felt like someone was watching us. I held Amy's hand tightly, afraid of running into bad people. In the evening, John went to the bakery to pick up the cake. I made this myself. It might not look very pretty. It's fine as long as it tastes good. I looked down at a drowsy Amy. She had played all day and was already exhausted. John picked the child up, letting her lean against his shoulder. Let's go. We'll head back and cook. She should be awake by the time the food is done. We bought groceries together, and John said he was going to show off his skills. When he cooked for me in our dorm abroad before, he ended up triggering the smoke alarm and even had to pay a fine. Now that we were back in China, he could cook without worry. On the way home, talking about our embarrassing moments studying abroad, he laughed very happily. Do you remember? Once when I cooked luosafen, stinky snail noodles, my roommates looked at me so weirdly, and even whispered that next time I should eat it in the bathroom before coming out. John added, speaking of which, a new luosafen place opened downstairs from my apartment. Want to go try it together tomorrow? Pursed my lips. If there's a chance. I'm moving. Ah, then isn't today our last meal? Then I really have to show you my true culinary skills. The elevator doors opened. He and I walked out. The sound-activated lights in the hallway turned on. They illuminated the tall man standing at the door. Elijah looked at us quietly, carrying a cake box in his hand. The polite smile on his face was gone, replaced by a dark, gloomy expression. Why did you stop? John walked forward a few steps holding the child. Your friend. Yeah. I greeted Elijah awkwardly. He came to settle the score with me this quickly? I stood frozen in place, a chill running down my spine. John didn't understand why I was stunned and naturally stepped forward to punch in the electronic lock password. Amy was woken up by the noise. Hugging John's neck, she mumbled, Are we home? Yes, the little princess is home. Your daddy and I will cook, you sleep a little longer. John had 2 younger sisters and was very good at coaxing kids. Watching his practiced manner, Elijah ground his teeth. I placed Amy on the bed and gently closed the door. John went to the kitchen humming a song to get busy. Only Elijah and I were left in the living room. I poured him a glass of water, but he grabbed my wrist. Why did you block me? Feeling guilty. I tried to pull my hand back, but he gripped it even tighter. Elijah's gaze fell on the boxes in the corner. Packed up so cleanly. Where are you planning to go? It's just, Amy isn't adapting well to her current school. Haven't you told enough lies? Just how long do you plan to keep deceiving me? Liam. His voice was freezing cold. I lowered my head helplessly, knowing I couldn't hide it any longer. I glanced back at John to make sure he wasn't paying attention to us, and lowered my voice. Can I explain it to you later? My friend is here, and today is Amy's birthday. I don't want to make things unpleasant. Elijah gave a cold snort. When dinner started, Amy sat next to me, her eyes heavy with sleep. Seeing that both uncles had brought a birthday cake, she immediately perked up. After singing the birthday song, Amy started eating the cake. Considering Amy couldn't eat spicy food, John had made boiled shrimp and stir-fried seasonal vegetables. Amy was taken care of very well and sweetly acted spoiled with him. Uncle John's cooking is the best. Wow, such a sweet mouth. I'll cut some apple bunnies for you to eat in a bit. John pinched her cheek and continued peeling shrimp for her. Elijah kept staring at Amy, his gaze deep, completely unreadable as to what he was thinking. I absent-mindedly poked at the rice in my bowl, not knowing how to explain. Confessing that I was intersex. Anyone would find that hard to accept, wouldn't they? I couldn't eat, only hoping this meal would end a bit slower. But what was meant to come would always come. At 10 o'clock, John finished cleaning up the dishes and prepared to leave. He glanced at Elijah on the sofa. Is your friend not leaving? Oh, he has something to talk to me about. You go ahead first. Okay. Remember to call me tomorrow when you move. I'll drive you. I forced a smile. I'm afraid I won't be able to move anymore. The front door closed. Amy went back to her room to sleep. The living room fell quiet. Elijah pulled out a piece of paper. This time it wasn't blank. It was the real DNA test report. Explain. This. I squeezed my fingers tightly together, my voice trembling. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. How did you do it? Why is Amy blood related to me? What exactly did you do to me? Elijah's eyes were full of bewilderment. I gritted my teeth. Because, after I took you back to your room on graduation night, I didn't leave. I originally just wanted to hug you, but you suddenly grabbed onto me and wouldn't let go. And then, but at the end of the day, it was also because I didn't refuse at the time, harboring a stroke of luck in my heart. After tonight, I might lose this friend forever. Elijah narrowed his eyes, his brows knitting tightly. And then, how did the child come about? I gave birth to her. Chapter 5. My voice was barely a whisper, but I finally let the secret out. What? Elijah raised his voice, clearly in disbelief. I didn't dare look him in the eyes. How could a normal person ever accept someone like me? I really did give birth to her, because I am intersex. I have 2 sets of reproductive systems in my body. When it was discovered during a childhood checkup, the doctor said the female set was incomplete but wouldn't affect my daily life. If I wanted surgery, I could wait until I was an adult. I was afraid of pain, so I never went through with it, keeping this secret all along. My parents never thought I could get pregnant, and neither did I. Yet, this low-probability event somehow happened to me. The room remained quiet for a long time. I was so nervous I gripped the hem of my shirt tightly, my voice choking up as if I was about to cry. I'm sorry, Elijah. I really didn't mean for this to happen. I never wanted to ruin your life. I'll take Amy and leave. I won't tell anyone about this, I promise. Suddenly, Elijah stood up and walked toward me. His footsteps were slow. Every step felt like it was trampling on my heart, making it hard to breathe. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw him raise his hand. I thought he was going to hit me and quickly squeezed my eyes shut. But his fingers landed on the back of my neck, gripping it in a dominating, controlling posture. Did it hurt? When you gave birth? This question caught me off guard. Of course it hurt. Before I could even nod, he continued on his own. I remember you being terrified of pain. Since you're so afraid of pain, why did you insist on keeping her? Because she was my last connection to Elijah. The gap between us was too vast. Sooner or later, we would drift further and further apart. Before our friendship faded completely, I wanted to keep a memory of him. I wasn't going to marry a girl anyway, so living alone with a child seemed perfectly fine. Therefore, I couldn't bear to get rid of her. Speak. Answer me. His cold, clear voice sounded right by my ear. I had nowhere left to retreat. My biggest secret had already been exposed. There was nothing left that I couldn't say. I like you. The person I've been secretly in love with for a long time is you. There was no movement from the other side, as if he was stunned. My eyes read. I gave a self-deprecating laugh. Elijah, am I disgusting? I'm sorry for pretending to be your buddy for so long. If you hate me, Who said I hated you? He suddenly cut me off. The next second, soft yet scorching lips blocked the rest of my words. I was pressed down firmly by him, unable to dodge. Elijah kissed me a bit roughly. My eyes went wide, my mind completely blank. This kiss came too suddenly and with heavy force. I could barely breathe. After a few minutes, Elijah finally let me go. He lowered his eyelashes, resting his forehead against mine. Our hurried breaths intertwined. Why are you only saying this now? Do you know? I originally planned to confess to you on graduation day. But when I woke up and found myself lying next to someone else, I felt so dirty. I couldn't bring myself to face you, and I never expected you to go abroad so quickly. For those 3 years, you stopped replying to my messages and stopped answering my calls. I thought you had started a new life. Liam, you really are something. You lied to me for so long and tortured me for 3 years. I really thought you were dead set on someone else, having a child out of wedlock. My mind was in complete chaos. The only thing I heard clearly was the phrase planned to confess. Did Elijah like me too? I stared at him with wide eyes. Those beautiful almond eyes were right in front of me. The outer corners flushed a moist red. Elijah, is what you said true? Are you gay too? Then how could you get married? Give me a kiss, and I'll tell you. I shyly pecked his cheek. That doesn't count. I tried again, pressing my lips to his. Elijah immediately tangled our lips together, kissing me for a long while. I felt my legs go weak. He carried me to the sofa. Gradually, my mouth went numb, even feeling a bit swollen. I blocked his face. No more kissing. It's your turn to talk. Amelia is a non-marriage advocate. She has a lot of siblings, and in order to secure a larger share of the inheritance, she begged me for help. The engagement is just a smokescreen. Once that day is over, she'll take her company shares and expand abroad. So that was it. The heavy stone blocking my heart finally fell away. I thought you two genuinely had a great relationship. It was just an act. Her older brother's spies were watching her every move. After Elijah finished speaking, he leaned in again. His warm body pressed tightly against mine. I couldn't dodge. In between kisses, he asked vaguely, "Are you still moving?" Not moving. This time it was Elijah's turn to move. After the engagement banquet matter concluded smoothly, he received compensation from the Taylor family by playing the role of the victim whose bride ran away. Turning around, he packed his things and moved into my house. Compared to the villa, this place was much closer to Amy's school. Amy no longer had to wake up early to catch the bus. Amy felt it was very strange that Uncle Elijah had joined us. I didn't want to mess with her young understanding of the world, planning to explain it to her when she was older. I just said Uncle Elijah was temporarily staying here. Amy had no objections to having an extra uncle to take care of her. She was actually very happy, because when they played house, there was finally someone to play the dad. Elijah's hair braiding skills became more and more proficient. Around Christmas, the kid was sent to my parents' place. Amy was a chatterbox, and my mom noticed something was off from her passing remarks. My mom called and started rushing me to get married. She even planned to introduce me to a divorced man who also had a child. I had no choice. I had to confess my sexual orientation to them. The family group chat went silent for a while. Not long after, my mom sent several 60-second voice messages, saying something highly emotional. She blamed my dad for letting me study abroad, claiming I was definitely corrupted by foreign influences. The two elders actually started arguing in the group chat during work hours. I tremblingly sent over the information about Amy's father. My mom immediately went quiet. Mom, isn't this Elijah? When did you two get together? Dad, Elijah became my son-in-law? Wait, is it a son-in-law? Does this mean I can retire early? Mom, if anyone is retiring early, it's me. You get no share. Dad, they already have a kid. What else is there to say? What's done is done. Have Elijah come over for dinner someday. It's been a long time since we've seen him. I smiled as I watched them chat. Good thing they had a favorable impression of Elijah. It saved a lot of trouble. Chapter 6. What are you looking at? Elijah came out of the bathroom and saw me smiling like a fool. I handed him my phone to look. The corners of his lips curled up. Came out this fast? Looks like I need to make some arrangements for you to meet my parents. Ah, I grew nervous. My situation. It might be hard for ordinary people to accept, right? Don't worry. With a granddaughter as cute as Amy, they couldn't ask for anything more. Elijah lowered his head to kiss me. His fingers slipped into my pajamas. Lately, he had been busy either dealing with the Taylor family or away on business trips. We hadn't had a proper chance to be intimate. I suddenly felt a bit nervous. He bit my earlobe and gently squeezed my waist. Relax. Heat crept up my cheeks. When his long, slender fingers touched my pajama pants, I grabbed his wrist. How about another day? Amy is still in the next room. Tomorrow is the weekend, and I've held back for long enough. Elijah kissed me, refusing to let me object any further. His touch left me trembling all over. His long legs pressed against mine, his voice husky and lingering. Baby, have you ever done it yourself? I shyly averted my gaze. Of course, out of curiosity, I had explored on my own before. He gave a wicked smile. Show me. No. What? Do you need me to teach you? No. I was completely helpless against his hands. The atmosphere in the room grew increasingly steamy. Elijah stared at me, his eyes dark and profound. He looked like a wild beast ready to pounce. Don't look. You're beautiful. He pressed his weight down and kissed me. The kisses gradually trailed downward. He urged me, don't stop your hands. I suddenly remembered something and pushed lightly at his shoulder. We don't have condoms at home. Then we'll use somewhere else. He took my earlobe in his mouth. You won't get pregnant. My cheeks flushed bright red, and I didn't dare look at him. Feeling his fingers wandering over my body, I pulled him into a long overdue embrace. The secret crush from all those years ago had finally, openly come true. If you enjoyed this story, remember to subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much.